The second semi-final is also probably going to be a bit of a classic. It's a replay of the 2019 finals, and I think it's going to be a bit of a battle for the ages, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what can actually happen. To be honest, this England team is not the Six Nations winning, Grand Slam winning, um, World Cup final making team that you've seen in the past few years. They're far from it, but they are in a semi final. And when you get to a semi final, things change. There is, however, definitely also something that has shifted in their ranks. Steve Borthwick took over at the start of the year, lots of criticism since then, and the England team hasn't looked great. When you look at their Six Nations campaign, that was horrible. And by English standards, that wasn't a good one. If you look at the run into the World Cup, not the best either. Either when you have a look at the run in the World Cup, things started shifting. And they started getting a little better with each game. And the first little shock came when they beat Argentina. Most people expected Argentina to come away with a win there, but the English were actually pretty good in that victory. In the next couple of games, they blew a little hot and cold, but they got the victories with a fair amount of ease. And then when they got to Fiji, uh, they were actually able to valiantly fight through that game, and they found a way. Regardless of what anybody thinks of it, at the end of the day, the only thing that matters was that the scoreboard at the end of the game read that England had won and England were in a semi final. However, if you think what it would take for England to win, I can't really see on paper that, based on how they've played recently or where they're at now, that they are going to win this one. But there's always a but. They would simply need to find a way of stopping the marauding South African forwards, stop them from being as punishing as they've been at trucks and malls and just in the contact in general. And I don't see exactly how they will do that. They will also need to stop that exciting back three. And there haven't been many teams that have kept them quiet in the last 2 years. They would also need to stop the bomb squad when they come onto the field. And teams have struggled to actually get that done in the last few years as well. Um, they would need to do all of this for 80 minutes, and they would need to make sure that South Africa has an off day. And I don't think South Africa is going to have an off day. South Africa have been building up steadily, and they've improved in parts of their game constantly as the World Cup has worn on. The game against France, questions about certain parts of officiating, but looking past that, overall from both teams, it was an amazing game. South Africa, as Rassi put it and Jacques put it, they are good at chasing lost causes. So if they need to pull something out of the hat, they're going to make a plan to do it. With the Cheslin Colby charge down being the best example of that. And looking at that game, if you simply compare if you compare England with France, France is by far the superior team. So the South African team, I think, in terms of what they will do and how they will line up, I think and I actually hope that they go with another 5-3 split for this one. I think that would give them enough options to dismantle England. Now the forward pack, I believe, should stay the same at the start of this game. In the backline, I would just make a few little changes. I would start with Faf de Klerk, only because he has a little bit more experience at this level playing in a game like this. And he also has the ability to really suffocate attacks just by being almost like a overactive, over-eager extra flanker on the field. He chases everything, and he doesn't always get the tackle. He doesn't always force the turnover, but he actually just slows down that attack and disrupts it. And that is something that will be needed on the day, I believe. The second change that I would make is I would go with Handré Pollard to start the game instead of Manie Lebok. Only reason being is that it calmed down the team overall a little bit, and we're much more likely then to see a South African team that keeps the scoreboard ticking over, slotting a couple of penalties early on to put up on the scoreboard pressure, and that is going to play in their favour. They will lose a bit of flair because Manie is not starting, but I would just put Manie on the bench. Definitely introduce him in the second half to really turn the screws on the English side. On the bench as well, there would be one change that I would go for is swapping out Billy LaRue for Kane Moody. Reason just being is Kane Moody has been a far more impressive attacking threat, and he can also cover at outside centre. So there are a few more options for the South African team if he plays. I honestly just don't see a way where South Africa doesn't come away with a victory by a similar margin to the 2019 final. I believe they would win by about a 20-point margin in this game, but there's always a but. The question is just if England can find a way. 2 matches in a row, despite the odds. Let's see.